let's do it. Okay, so as I said, welcome to webinar number 3 of our Digital Marketing Mastery Fall 2015 series, our how-to series. We are going to be focusing tonight on conversion. I think most of you here know who I am, so I'll skip all of this part about me, but that's who I am and all that kind of fun stuff. And we'll get right down to business here. So the first thing that I'm going to do tonight is I had a lot of people say that the replay process has been a little clumsy. So I've been putting them up on GoToWebinar, and you have to sign in every time to watch them. So if you don't watch the whole thing, you have to sign in again. And on top of that, and I didn't really expect this, but I'm pleasantly surprised, is that we've had a lot of people sign up since we started the webinar series. I think we had 10 or 15 people sign up this week alone. So my plan originally was to put the replays up for a week and then take them down and then put the next replay up. But with the new people joining, it just doesn't make sense. So I've kind of scratched that idea, and I created a new member portal, as I'm calling it, and I'll show it to you in here in just a minute, that where all of the replays will be kept. We'll have copies of the slides. I have an index on each of the replays, so if you need to search anything, and I'm going to leave those up at least through the end of the 8 weeks that we're here. So you can go back and watch any of the replays or anything that you want to over an 8-week period. So we'll talk about that, and I'll show you some examples of that here. I wanted to do a quick recap of some of the key areas that we've talked about the last 2 weeks, and we've had some great questions from webinar number 2 that I want to answer, and then we're going to jump right into conversion. And we're going to talk about the fundamentals of conversion and really what are the keys to conversion. So what is a conversion and how do you get those, and use some examples on that. We're going to then talk about the irresistible offer. This is a concept we talked about, I think it was in week 1. We're going to bring that up and start talking about that again tonight, because it's very much part and parcel to conversions. And then we're going to talk about a concept, it doesn't sound as intimidating as it sounds, called funnel stacking. So how you can stack different funnels together to get maximum conversion. And then we'll end off, of course, with questions and answers. And I think most of you know where the question box is on the GoToWebinar console there. So as always, if you're having questions as we go along, or you need me to clarify anything or whatever, just go ahead and put it in. I'll do whatever I can to get the questions answered, and then we'll continue on and go forward from there. So anyway, like I said, a lot to cover tonight, so we'll jump right in. Okay, well, before we get into this, I want to go back and show you the member portal. So let me go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to jump over to the browser. So I'll be sending you a link for this portal, so don't worry about writing anything down. But you'll get a link which will then take you to an area where you can log in at any time and watch the replays and get any of the data that are there. And it'll just ask you to sign in with your name and email and put in a password, and then you'll see a screen just that looks like this. And what happens is when you click login, you're going to come to a page that looks like this. Now, this is going to have all the different replays. So we obviously have the first 2 up there, 1 and 2. And after tonight, we'll have 3 up there. So if you want to watch the first replay, you would just click this. The video is right here. And then what I did is I added in kind of the key points, because I know some of you have been watching these kind of in, in tranche, in small bites. So you're not watching them all at once. So therefore, you can kind of skip ahead to the time and move ahead that says, okay, well, I want to move ahead to the 3 funnel conversion secrets, so I know I can move right ahead to 4819. I've also added the slide handout. So all the slides are here in handout format, which you can download as well. So you really have everything that you need for each of these replays. And again, if you just want to go to number 2, you click it here and you have the same thing here. So all 8 of these replays will be in here before we're done. We'll get into, like I said, you'll get all the data to access it. and to be able to use it and all this kind of stuff. I'll send it all in an email, but I think it'll be a heck of a lot easier. Oh, and the other things too is you can search. So if you want to search for, Facebook, for example, it will automatically start highlighting the areas so you can find different topics and all of that. So hopefully this is a lot better and easier solution than what we've been doing with the GoToWebinar piece there. Okay, so good about that. I'm already getting questions. What is a conversion? A conversion talks about, when I'm going to get into that here in a minute, but just so that we're not sitting here going with a mystery, is a conversion is when you convert a prospect or a customer or somebody into doing something, whether that's buying something or giving you your email or whatever, you're converting them. You're moving them through a process and getting a conversion. So obviously there's a lot more to it, and we're going to get into it here in just a minute. Okay, so that's the member portal. And like I said, I'm excited that it's going to be a lot better than what we've been dealing with so far. Okay, so I know I've covered these on the last two sessions. I'm going to cover it again because it's just so important to get this kind of in your head about the purpose of marketing. And the sole purpose of marketing, as we've talked about, is to get more people to buy more of your product more often and for more money. That's the purpose. It's to actually get conversion. So when I talk about conversions, a conversion would be buying more of your product or service, right? That's what you want to get with marketing. Now, there's a lot of different aspects of marketing, but at the end of the day, everything needs to lead up to this purpose, and that's what we're doing here. So it's not about just making your company known, and good PR, and knowing your brand, and having good reviews. Well, that's all nice. The goal, as we said, is to get people to buy more of your product or service more often and for more money. Now, the other term that we've talked about, this is my own term, is called digital marketing. And I use this term, and so I keep going back to it in the webinar here. And digital marketing is marketing, per the definition that we just went through, that is carried out online using technology, the internet, mobile, and really most importantly, metrics and statistics. So it's using technology, it's using the internet, it's using mobile devices, it's using all the data and analytics and statistics that are available to help facilitate that purpose, which is to get more people to buy more of your product and for more often. So everything that we talk about in this webinar, and we have so far, and we will be talking about over the next few weeks, it's going to relate to just this, right? Using technology, the internet, and mobile to get more customers and to sell more and to get more of it. And tonight is certainly going to be a great example of that. Now, we've also spent quite a bit of time over the last few weeks talking about, or last couple weeks, talking about what I call the digital marketing funnel. And the digital marketing funnel is really the heart and soul of how you get more customers and how you get more sales and how you get more conversions. And I'm not going to go into all the pieces of the funnel again here. We've talked about them on previous webinars. But basically, again, the idea is that you're taking potential prospects from different online traffic sources, and then you're moving them into your own world, into your own nurture zone, where you're enlightening them and educating them on a product or service or something that you're trying to sell. Then you're moving them to a conversion zone where they actually then have decided to buy or decided to do something. And then, of course, you want to move them into a paying customer. We've also talked about that, not everybody's going to just move nice and orderly through this funnel. So people are going to fall out. They're going to fall out either in the nurture zone or in the conversion zone. And that we need to have a plan for following up to bring these prospects that are likely still very interested in what you're doing back in to your digital marketing funnel, whether it's in the nurture zone and the conversion zone, so that we give them, multiple chances to move through this funnel. And for reasons that we've talked about is that, people will fall out for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with the fact that they're not interested in what you're doing. And in fact, one of the things we're going to talk or see tonight is I hope you'll see that by incorrectly setting up your conversion strategy and how you work with how you work with the funnel, you can inherently push people out of the funnel. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to push prospects out of the funnel by, the way that we set it up, because it's not really accomplishing what we want to accomplish. So Anyway, the digital marketing funnel is part and parcel to, and is the backbone of everything that we really do related to getting, selling more of our products and service more often and for more money. This is the heart and soul of using digital marketing for that. Next week, for example, not to jump ahead, but we're going to be talking about traffic sources, which are all these things over here on the left, and how you use different traffic sources to fill your marketing funnel. But tonight, we're going to focus more here on this conversion zone and just some of the basics and fundamentals that go into understanding the conversion zone that's associated with this funnel. Okay, but before we jump into that, I did want to answer a few questions that came up over the last week. And the first one I got a lot, and I thought it was worthwhile for me to actually go back and show some couple examples. So if you were on the webinar last week or you saw the recording, what you saw is we talked about a tool in Facebook called Audience Insights. And what Audience Insights allows you to do is go into Facebook and start to identify different audiences that you may want to target with Facebook ads and Facebook promotions. So it uses a tool to help you, define the right demographic and define the right, right person or the right prospect that may be good for whatever you're promoting. Now, we talked about that last week, so I won't go in and recap that. It's in the video, it's in the replay. You can definitely watch that. However, a lot of people said to me, well, I can't figure out where to find this Audience Insights. And a couple people said, what you had on your screen doesn't look like what I have on my screen. And I started to think about it, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I know what's going on. So in the Facebook world, you can access Facebook Ad Manager, what's called the Ad Manager, through your personal account, and you can also set up what's called a business account. So you see here, for example, this is just my Facebook personal account. And if I went to my main homepage or my wall here, you'll see that up here it says Ads Manager, and I can click that, and that will take me over into my Ads Manager. And it says this account right here, Tom Burton. So if I click that, you have the exact same thing. So if you go into your Facebook personal account, you have an Ad Manager tab or button over there, and you can go in and you'll get something like this. Now, up here under Tools, you'll see here it says Audience Insights. And if you click that, you'll end up going to that Audience Insights tool that we went through yesterday. This is how it looks, so to speak, when you're using the Ads Manager from a personal page. What I recommend, though, is if you're really doing stuff for business, is you set up what's called a business account in Facebook. And you do that by going to business.facebook.com. And what that allows you to do is set up an ad account that's used specifically for your business. And everything you're doing in there is related to your business rather than, maybe you would be doing something personally or you were doing some things that were not directly associated with your business. Plus, that's what Facebook prefers. They prefer you set up a business account. Now, it's going to look a little different. So if I come in here and you come into a business account, it could look a little bit different than what it did in the personal account. But the same is true over here. As if you click Tools, you're going to end up seeing this thing here that says Audience Insights. You click that, and again, you go over to the Audience Insights tool. So this is, again, there's two ways of getting there. I would recommend, if you haven't done it already, is just go to business.facebook.com. It'll take you through the process of setting up a business account and an ad account within Facebook for your business, and then you can do everything right out of there. And I'm learning that I'm finding that there's more and more tools and things like that that Facebook is making available in the business account than they are in the personal account. So hopefully that answers some of the questions I had this week about Audience Insights and how to access it. Another question that came up during the week is, if you remember last week, we talked about building a Facebook page. And the question came up is, do you build a Facebook page before building a funnel? And I thought that was a really great question that it would make sense to talk a little bit more about tonight. So the Facebook page that we were talking about last week, and the reason I went down that route, it's a question, it's an area that people have a lot of attention on. I hear all the time, well, I really want to get more people to my Facebook page, and it's important to people. Is it really all that important in the marketing world compared to some of the other things we're talking about? Not so much, but compared to what people think is important, is the Facebook page is important, and it does have value, as we talked about last week. And if you didn't see the webinar, please go back and take a look at that. But I don't look at them as one before the other. You should start, and you should be starting to think about, and hopefully after tonight, you're really going to have even a better idea of how to do that. The funnels, or a funnel, at least one funnel, that you would like to build for your business around a specific product or service that you would like to sell more of. Remember, funnels are geared around a product or service. They're not geared around a company. If you're also, wanting to improve your Facebook page, you can certainly be doing that at the same time. It doesn't mean that you have to do one before the next. But if I had to pick one, if I had a certain amount of time and I would limit it on time and I'd limit it on resources, I would focus on getting my funnel, because my funnel is what brings in dollars. My funnel is what brings in more customers. When I start to have more customers, when I start to have more dollars, I can afford to do more things. I can build out Facebook pages. I can do all of these other things. So if I was going to choose, if I had limited resources and limited time and limited money, I would focus on building out my funnel. And I would start with that first, is what I would actually do before I'd worry about the Facebook page. Let's see here. Okay, this was another one related to Facebook, which I got several times. And Paul, I think, who's on tonight, explained this to me. He asked it the best. He said, I thought that Facebook was just a chitty-chatty personal site. Why would I want to be doing things for business on there? And how in the heck am I going to take people that are business people out of Facebook and move them into my funnel? And what he's doing in particular is selling a business-to-business product. And I hear this all the time. In fact, people will say, well, isn't LinkedIn a better business site? Well, okay, yes, I agree that Facebook is as far as what goes on Facebook, Facebook doesn't have a tremendous amount of business conversation going on. LinkedIn does have a lot of business conversation going on. But that's not why we're using Facebook or we care about Facebook. We care about Facebook because there's 1.4 billion people on Facebook. 80% of those people are active on Facebook every single day. Most people, the average person, checks their Facebook page 15 times a day. People use Facebook as a communication tool way more often than they use email and other sources of communication. And I look at my wife, for example. My wife communicates solely with her friends and family through Facebook. I would be surprised if she sends more than 1 or 2 emails a month to friends and family. But on Facebook, she's constantly communicating to friends and family on Facebook. So the reason we like Facebook is because that's where things are happening. That's where people are. Everybody is there, whether they're a business person or a non-business person. So a CEO of a company is likely on Facebook. And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to use the Facebook channel, if you will, and you want to be able to use that communication channel to get your message or your information in front of the right people. We don't care what people are talking about on Facebook. We don't care that they're talking about what they had for lunch or what they want for Christmas or anything like that. We care because that's where people are, and we can reach the people, and we can reach them in large quantities with consistency. That's why we care about Facebook. Yes, LinkedIn has way more business conversation, but most people don't check their LinkedIn stuff more than once or maybe once a week. I personally don't even check my LinkedIn maybe once or a couple times a week at the most, right? I don't spend time on LinkedIn the way people, and I'm not a big Facebook user personally, but I spend more time on Facebook than I do on LinkedIn. So that's why we're using these Facebook in particular. It's because that's where people are hanging out, not because the conversation or the activity or what it is going on there on those other things. And trust me, I have gotten leads off of Facebook for $100,000 manufacturing equipment. People that you want to reach are on Facebook. And that audience insights tool that we went through last week helps you reach them. So it's just a matter of finding the right way to reach them. It's not whether they're there, whether you're trying to reach the CEO of a company, you're trying to reach a marketer, you're trying to reach anybody that you're trying to reach, any audience that you try and reach is on Facebook. And that's why we use it. So hopefully that answers that question and puts that in perspective as well. Okay, so I think those were the big questions from last week. Let me see if there's any questions that have come up here. No, I think we've hit on those. Okay, cool. All right, so with that in mind, let's get into tonight's main program, which is conversion. Now, what do we mean by conversion? So let's take a minute and define that. Hold on, a couple questions have just come in here. I want to make sure I don't go by them. Good, good, good. Okay, good. No, I think everyone's starting to understand what I mean on the Facebook front. Okay, so what is a conversion, right? In the marketing world, what that means is that a prospect, somebody who has entered our funnel, has decided, and you see I highlighted and underlined the word decided, to take an action and make some commitment. Okay, and we'll talk about the different types of commitments that could be in a minute. But that's a big deal when you get a prospect to decide to take an action and make some commitment. Every time they decide to do something, whether it's enter their email, whether it's to watch a video, whether it's to buy something from you, whether it's willing to talk to a salesperson, whatever it is, they've decided to take that action and they have made some commitment. It may not be a big commitment, but it's still a commitment. All of those things I categorize as a conversion. Now, what they're going to exchange, what the currency is for this commitment could be an email address, right? A person could decide that, hey, okay, I'm going to put in my email address in order to get some content. So they've made that commitment and they're exchanging their email address for that. Of course, they could be exchanging money if they're taking out their credit card or if they're spending money. They could also be exchanging their personal time, right? You're taking your personal time to come to this webinar. You have decided to come to this webinar. You have made that commitment. Every person on here tonight is, in my perspective, a conversion because you converted and decided to come to the webinar. And your exchange is your personal time, which is valuable, okay? So all of that is a form of a conversion. And not all conversions are created equal, and each one has its own challenges. And I'm going to talk about different types of conversions here in just a minute. And last but not least is the goal of any funnel that you create is one or more conversions. That's the goal of a funnel. A funnel is not to, as I've talked about over and over, just to get somebody to know who you are. Oh yeah, I've heard of you. That's not a conversion, okay? A conversion is somebody has decided to take an action, which is why we have a funnel. We want to facilitate the process of people taking an action and making a commitment. That's all we're trying to do with a funnel. And I had a call with a prospect this afternoon, and he was telling me, he goes, I've spent all this money on, all these different sort of ads and ad programs and local directories and all this stuff, but I'm not really getting any new customers in my door. I'm not getting any new conversions. And I said, because what you're doing is not leading towards a conversion. You're not doing things that are driving people towards taking an action and making some commitment. So that's what we care about, right? Because we want more customers and we want people to buy more of our product more often and for more money. Now, the first week, I presented these 5 laws of digital marketing. And I'm going to present them again now because they're so relevant to what we're going to be talking about here with respect to conversions. So as I said on the first thing, there's 5 laws that I kind of live by. I have these pasted up on my wall that I just don't want to forget, because every time I forget them, I end up kind of, realizing that I'm stupid and I'm not really, thinking with these things that make all the difference. So first of all, people love to buy and they hate to be sold. And the internet has really made this possible. It makes it very easy for people to buy, and it makes them very easy for them to avoid to be sold, okay? That wasn't the case 15, 20 years ago. If you wanted even a piece of information, you had to talk to a salesperson. Heck, now you can go buy a car, you can buy a house, you can practically do everything without ever talking to a salesperson, Okay, so people like to buy, but they don't like to be sold and don't want to believe that they're going to be sold. Buyers, though, when they do buy, or even when they commit, even if it's a purchase, but when they commit, they want to commit again, and they want to become repeat buyers. They want to reinforce the decision that they've made is a good one. So you want to take advantage of that. You don't, if somebody commits, you don't just stop and say, okay, thanks. Most people want to commit again. Prospects want to be presented the opportunity to buy, or again, more generally, to convert at the right time, and are upset if this is not done. So if you don't give them the opportunity to convert, and I've seen this again over and over, where people do a great job of nurturing, and then they don't ever give them an opportunity to convert. And I'll kind of tell an interesting story on that here, just on these webinars here, that for me, I've kind of violated this a little bit, which I'll explain in a minute. But people want to have the opportunity to buy at the right time and are upset if this is not done. Traffic does not equal conversions, and that's what we're going to focus on tonight. And when we get done tonight, this will become loud and clear, because people will believe that if someone is interested and there's some interested traffic, that's going to immediately lead to that commitment and to that decision, and that's a really big fallacy. And again, never underestimate what is required to get a prospect to actually buy or convert online. People are being hit with over 3,500 requests to convert for something every day. Okay, look around. Think about how many people every day are asking you to convert on something. They're asking you to do something, to invest your time, your money, your email address, whatever the case may be. It's now like over 3,500 times per day you're being asked to convert. So it's a lot of noise. And what you need to do, or we need to do as a marketer, is we have to be able to cut through that noise. And the way that we do that is by being more intelligent and being more smarter and presenting something that people actually care about, and also using some of the laws and tools that we're going to talk about tonight. So again, these we talked about the first week. I wanted to bring them up again because they're so important in what we're talking about here related to conversion. Okay, so let's talk about now, if I can get my slide to change here. What are categories of conversion and the difficulty, and what I call the degree of difficulty for getting these conversion categories to occur? And stay with me, because this may be a little confusing in the beginning, but it won't be. Hopefully won't be confusing as we go along here. All right, one of the easiest conversions you can get somebody to do is visit your website. Okay, hey, Joe, check out my website, or even through an ad, check out my website or my Facebook page. It's a commitment, right? They have to decide to go do it. They have to go take a few minutes or few seconds or whatever to do it. It's a conversion, but its degree of difficulty is relatively low. Kind of going from lowest to highest, the next thing is asking somebody for their email. So you probably get asked for your email. I know I do many times during the day. Attend a webinar, opt in for this, get this free paper, get this free video, get this, get that, or whatever. It's an email opt-in, so you have to decide to do that and put in your email, and that's a form of a conversion. You may also decide at some point to request information, or request a quote, or request an estimate, right? Those are also a form of a conversion, where you're asking for something or requesting something, but you're asking for that to occur. You've decided that you want to get that information. Another conversion category would be when you actually consume some content, right? If, again, as I said a minute ago, if you're on this webinar right now, you're consuming the content. You have converted, at least as it relates to this webinar. And so therefore, that is a form of a conversion. Is it easier to tell somebody to go visit my website or get them to show up at a webinar? It's more difficult for me or anybody to get somebody to consume some of my content, like video and webinar, than it is for them to just go check out the website. Oops, now I've got really going too fast, sorry. The next level is a small purchase. So, asking somebody to spend what I pretty much consider less than $20 online, that's definitely more difficult than asking them for their email, but it's a confrontable amount. It's something that can happen all the time and isn't really that hard to do. A larger purchase is much harder to do. Okay, it requires a bigger commitment. It requires a bigger decision. It requires more things to occur. So the degree of difficulty of getting somebody to convert for a larger purchase is, harder than it is for a small purchase. It can be done. I'm not saying any of these things can't be done. It's just a degree of difficulty is higher. And then we start even going from there. And believe it or not, like getting somebody to take a consultation, an in-person one-on-one or phone-based consultation. I've been offering these coaching calls, right? The free coaching calls, there's some interesting data on that in a minute. That is a harder thing to get people. I could probably be selling something for $20 and get more people to take me up on that than I have so far of the percentage of people who have taken me up on the free consultation. I don't, it's people get a little bit nervous, concerned, whatever, about a one-on-one phone interview or a one-on-one consultation. An appointment is kind of taking it to the next step, right? Come in for an appointment or whatever. That's a high degree of difficulty. And believe it or not, the highest degree of difficulty of conversion is getting people to be willing to talk to what they believe is a salesperson. Okay, and I said this before. People have an adversity to talking to a salesperson. And think about it for yourself. How many times do you avoid when you get in a situation that you may believe that you're going to have to talk to a salesperson? You generally will try and avoid it. I know I do too, right? I'm looking for a new car. I'm going to do all the work I need to without having to talk to a salesperson, and I'm going to use the salesperson to administer the sale, okay? And is it right or wrong? It doesn't matter. Usually it's because salespeople have kind of put themselves in a situation of being difficult in some cases. And again, none of this is impossible, or none of this is even, overly difficult. Now, what I'm showing here is a degree of difficulty as it relates to a conversion, okay? So if you get, well, we're going to talk about this in a second, but if you got a new prospect that had never heard of you before, and you asked them to make a small purchase or a larger purchase or sign up for a consultation, you think they're going to do it? Or what would you have to do, better yet, to get that to occur? So these are the conversion categories. Now let's look at prospect categories. Okay, like I said, this will make sense here in just a minute, so just bear with me on this part. There are different types of prospects, and again, a degree of difficulty in dealing with different prospects. So the highest degree of difficulty for a prospect is somebody who's never heard of me, right? I call that cold traffic. We're going to talk next week about where you get traffic, whether it's on Facebook or Google or different places. But if somebody's never heard of you or never heard of what you do or your product or your service, that's called cold traffic, okay? Those are going to be the hardest people to convert because they don't know anything about you. There's no like or trust. The next level of a prospect category is, okay, maybe somebody who has visited your website or your Facebook page. They may not know you very well, but they know you better than somebody who's never done anything or never visited your website. If they opt in, right, if somebody opts in and gives you their email, okay, then that person is becoming a bit of what's called warmer traffic, right? They're people that are going to be potentially easier to convert because they've already made some commitment. They've already made a commitment of giving them their email. So they're already starting down that road of conversion. If somebody consumed content that you did and we're actually getting enlightened and getting better understanding of what you're doing, what you're promoting or whatever, those are going to have a lower degree of difficulty. If they actually attended a consultation or an appointment, that would have a lower degree of difficulty. If they made a small purchase, that's even easier. So remember I said before, when people buy, they want to become repeat buyers. One of the easiest things to do if you want to sell a higher ticket item is get somebody to make a small purchase first. Purchase something small, and then it becomes much, much easier with a lower degree of difficulty to convert them into something else. So of course, if they made a large purchase, that's even easier. And when you have a repeat customer or an advocate, those are the easiest people in the world, right? I've got some customers that I've worked with for years, and if I release something new and I introduce it to them, 70% of them would just buy it just because I said to, right? Because they know who I am and they like what I do, and they're just going to do it because they have built the trust with them. But if I take that to a same person out here that has never heard of me and said, oh, buy a $100 training package, most of them are going to go, well, why? I mean, why am I going to do that? The degree of difficulty is going to be that much higher. So what we want to look at when we're looking at conversions is our prospects, and we need to compare them. This unfortunately is going to be harder than I thought, but we want to compare them to these, conversion categories. So think about what we just went through here. If I had cold traffic, okay, and let's say that my first step of my funnel was requesting somebody to make an appointment. Okay, so I have a funnel, I go to a nurture zone, and the first conversion and the conversion that I do there says, please schedule an appointment. So let's say I'm a vet or a dentist or a doctor or somebody like that, okay? So what that shows me is that's a high degree of difficulty to get somebody to convert to do, and I'm taking that doing that with cold traffic, which is the also very high degree of difficulty as it relates to that prospect. What's the amount of work that I'm going to have to do in my nurture zone? What am I going to have to do? And what is my probability of turning that into a conversion? It's pretty difficult, right? It's like, on the Olympics when they have the divers and things like that, and they say, here's a degree of difficulty of this dive. And it's the same thing here. That's a difficult scenario where you've got cold traffic that you're asking to make an appointment. But what if you took cold traffic and you asked them to opt in for something, for an email, or even visit your website page or so on? Well, that's a less degree of difficulty, and there's less things that actually can go on and be done there. So what we want to do is we want to be able to map our prospect categories to our conversion categories so that we can move through the people through the funnel at a reasonable pace and with reasonable success. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I think we have about 350 people that have signed up for this webinar. Of the 350 people that signed up for the webinar that you're on right now, probably 80 of them came from an ad I ran on Facebook. Okay, and so they've never heard of me in my life. They never heard of Social Marketing Noise. They never heard of Tom Burton. They didn't know me from Adam, but they still signed up because obviously there was something that they were interested in. Okay, but they were coming in as cold traffic. Now, the first thing I asked them to do was to get an email. Okay, that's fine. And some of them, and some of you are on here right now, you probably fit in that category. You didn't know who I was when you started this here. You're consuming the content here. So I'm moving you down and making you, to some degree, less degree of difficulty to convert. But the fact is, and if I go back to the previous page, is one of the things that I offered on the first, and I've been offering every week, is this free 30-minute coaching call, which for all intents and purposes fits in right here. It's a consultation, okay? Well, the number of people, the people who took me up on that consultation, and have really, for the most part, if I look at the majority of the people so far that have taken me up on that consultation, are people who already knew me and knew my company before we started this webinar series. Very few people that were the cold traffic have taken me up yet on that consultation because the gradient is too steep. It's too big of a conversion. Now, I'll tell you right now, please, it's okay. It'll be an enjoyable experience. It'll be a valuable experience. But I understand, right? People want to get to know me a little more. They want to know if they can trust me. Can they talk to me? Is it okay to tell me stuff? All that stuff. I totally get that. That's just part of the process that we're going through. But the example is that it was a steep degree of difficulty taking cold traffic and asking them to come to a consultation. Okay, it was much easier for me to get them to opt in, consume some content, and then move to a consultation. And that will happen. I have no doubt that I'll meet and talk to a lot of these people before we're done with the 8 weeks. But I'm hoping that this starts to give you some idea of what I mean here between the types of conversions that can occur, and the degree of difficulty that can exist with a prospect. And what I wanted to do to kind of hammer this home is show a couple of examples. So the first night we were on, I showed some examples of some simple funnels, right? A nurture zone and a landing page and all that kind of stuff. Here is a landing page that was done for a vet in Canada, and they were promoting a heartworm test in the month of July. And you'll see here that here's the data on it, and here's the landing page and the nurture zone and so on. But you'll see here the call to convert, or the call to action over here, was click to make an appointment. Okay. Now, based upon what we just talked about, if I was bringing cold traffic to this page, that would be a pretty steep gradient. And frankly, the amount of nurturing that I'm doing on this page in terms of building the relationship, building the trust or whatever, would not be sufficient for somebody who was coming here who had never heard of Mavis Road Animal Clinic and asking them to make an appointment. I'm not doing enough here to get that done. Okay, I'm not doing enough in doing this. Now, the good news is that this did work, but the reason this worked is we sent this to their list of existing customers. Okay, so we sent it to people that already knew them, and so this funnel, as it related to this landing page and so on, even if it would have been people that hadn't been in the clinic for a year or two, they still had some, oh yeah, I know Mavis Road, or yeah, I know who they are, and so this wasn't too big of a gradient of conversion to go to an appointment. So this actually turned out to be pretty successful. Now, we did a second one though for another vet who was doing a microchip program. So this is where they embed microchips into your pet and so on. And again, the landing page looks pretty similar, right? Looks pretty similar structure, similar thing that I just showed you here. So the nurture zone was very similar. But you see here that it doesn't say get an appointment anymore. It says get more information, okay? That is a lot less of a difficult conversion than getting somebody to make an appointment. And you can think about it, it's a much less commitment, right? Oh yeah, I'd like some more information on this. I don't have to sign up for an appointment, make a schedule when I go in there. The level of commitment, the level of conversion is much less. Now, once they have more information, then we may come back to them with a different funnel to actually have them come in for an appointment. So this funnel was actually, and this landing page was actually promoted to cold traffic. This was promoted to people right on Facebook. Facebook people went here, and it was quite successful because the gradient of the conversion and the degree of difficulty was not that high. You'll also notice here that there's a video here that we had to add because we needed to do more nurturing and more enlightening on this landing page with cold traffic than we did on this one where there is no video when we were talking to existing customers and putting those things in together. So I'm hoping that these two examples show you just the relationship between the category of the prospect and the conversion that we were asking them to do, right? We want to have successful conversions. So if we would have put here, make an appointment, we probably would have got a lot of people to come to this page, but we wouldn't have gotten any appointments. So we wouldn't have gotten any conversions. So would that have been a successful funnel? Well, not really. Or it would have required more follow-up, more work, more effort. We don't want to do that. We want to make them as frictionless as possible so then we get to the next step that's there. Now, there's another funnel that I'm pretty sure I showed you on the first day. This is actually for another vet that I work with that is selling holistic and natural products for dogs and animals. And this is a more sophisticated funnel, but I wanted to show you this as well because there's actually multiple conversions going on in this one funnel, right? We're actually kind of taking them down the yellow brick road, if you will, ultimately to the point of making a purchase. Now, this funnel that I'm going to show you too was in fact promoted to cold traffic. We use Facebook ads to drive people to this funnel. We targeted pet owners and people that had expressed interest in allergies and so on for their dog, and we drove them to this landing page here. Now, you'll see here, right, that the very first conversion that we're asking them to do is to opt in with their email. And the way that we're asking them to do that is we're giving them a mini training on the 3 secrets to handling your dog's allergies, okay? So they're making a conversion, they're making a commitment by clicking on this button. Not a big one, right? It's not a big gradient. It's not a big, degree of difficulty. Notice though, we still had to have a video here that explained why they should do this. Now, once they got into here, they were asked to consume content. This was about a 13-minute video, okay? So we were now asking that person to take 13 minutes out of their day to watch this video. And we set it up so that we could actually track how much of the video they watched, right? So that if they fell out, let's say they watched 6 minutes and fell out, they moved into the follow-up zone, we could move them back in. If they got farther along, we could kind of see how much of the content they actually consumed. But the goal then, right, was to get them to consume that content, a conversion, and then move them to the next step, which was to actually look at purchasing the allergy rescue product, which was the primary conversion of this funnel. Okay, so if they click here, this was another conversion that took them to a what's called a sales page, another landing page, where we now talked a lot more about the product and introduced the product and a whole bunch of data about that, right? So success stories and frequently asked questions and all this stuff. But now the conversion that we're asking for is for them to order allergy rescue, okay? If they click this, then they went to a page, a checkout page, where they actually then put in their credit card and purchase the product, okay? Now, we just took them through so far, how many conversions? We took them through a conversion to opt in with their email. We took them through a conversion to consume content. And now we're taking them through a conversion to hopefully get them to purchase something. But could we have gone right from that first page, that first landing page that we saw when we came in directly to here and asked them to buy allergy rescue? Well, we could have, but would it have worked? No, because we didn't lead them through a conversion process. And as you see down here, right, and I think I talked about this on week 1, is not only now are we asking them to buy allergy rescue, we're asking them to buy 3 more bottles as a bump or an upsell at an additional $89.95. So now they're committing to buy, we're asking them to commit to buy more. And over 60% of the people did this exact point, right? You think I could have taken on that first page and asked them to buy 4 bottles of allergy rescue and had that convert? Of course not, right? They had to go through this process of conversion and getting them to the point where they were ready and willing and nurtured enough to actually get this done, right? Our nurture step here was this video, right? We knew if people watched this video, they would be, man, I've got to have this product. But we had to get them to consume that content. We had to get them to agree to consume that content. We had to get them to be willing to opt in and fill out this form that's here. So this is, again, hopefully you're seeing this, the example of how you use conversions and to start thinking about conversions. And think about when you're not getting conversions, right? When you're doing a promotion, and I hear this all the time, right? God, I'm running Facebook ads, but nobody's buying anything, or I'm doing promotions and nobody's buying anything. Look at your conversion sequence that you're doing here, and are you doing things in the proper gradient? That's what you really want to look at and make sure is in place. So again, 3 examples. This was warm traffic to ask, existing customers, making an appointment. Cold traffic, simple nurturing, but simple conversion. More sophisticated conversions, plural, but way more nurturing and multiple conversions occurring in that funnel for what we're doing here. All 3 of these are funnels. All 3 of them that I just showed you are examples of digital marketing funnels. They're just being done in different ways and in different manners. So again, compare this, right? Go when the slides are up tomorrow, or even take a screenshot right now. Look at these. These are the highest to lowest degree of difficulty for prospects. And then, I wish I would just go back easier, and then look at the conversion categories and make sure that you're matching those up. And that's really the secret here. Okay, so let's go ahead. We looked at our examples already. So what are the keys to conversion? The conversion keys are converting at the right gradient by properly matching your conversion category and your prospect category in your funnel. We're removing the friction. We're making the conversion process easy rather than, insanely difficult, right? A degree of difficulty of 10 plus. The second thing then is make sure though, even if you're going to do something a little more difficult then, you've got to do the right nurturing. We're going to talk more about nurturing another night, okay, and what goes into nurturing. But the bottom line is you've seen some examples here, right? You have to enlighten the prospect on what you're selling. You have to start to build the relationship. You have to build the know, like, and trust. All of that goes into our nurture zone. Having the right nurture zone based upon the conversion that you're asking for is so, so, so important. I was having another call with a person today that's trying to sell training to lawyers, right? And he's trying to sell this training to lawyers that they've never heard of before, and he was going to take them right to a sales page. And I said, this was too steep. They're not going to understand this. You're not going to get the conversion you're looking for. You don't have the right nurture in place. So the right nurture zone is very, very important. The third, which we really haven't touched on a lot, but I'm going to share some stuff on here in a minute, is the irresistible offer, right? You got to offer something that, despite everything you've done with the nurture zone, everything you've set up in your funnel, you want to make that offer look as irresistible as possible. As I said, never underestimate what it takes to get somebody to convert. So when I present an offer, I want to make it irresistible, and I'm going to define what I mean by that in just a second. Oops, sorry. Stay back here. And then what I mean by a funnel stack is I may do different funnels with different conversions at the appropriate gradient. And I'll explain that here in more detail in a second. But what that means is I may have a funnel with the total goal of that funnel is to get somebody to opt in with their email. Okay. Now I may have a completely separate funnel that I promote to the people who opt in with their email to promote or to did a gift conversion and so on. Or maybe I have a funnel that gets a small purchase, and then I have a separate funnel that I only promote to the people that have made a small purchase to make a larger purchase. That's what I call funnel stacking. And so you can stack different funnels on top of each other to get that. And I'll show you that more what I mean here in just a second. But what I want to talk about now is the irresistible offer. And we could spend all evening talking about irresistible offers. And it's certainly something that if you're interested, we can talk more about in future webinars. But I wanted to make sure you had the basics when it comes to putting an offer together. So when you're promoting something, right, whatever it is, remember a funnel is promoting a product or service. It's not promoting your company. What you want to do is you want to package that offer up in a way, that product or service in a way that somehow appears a little different or better than similar offers. So even on the funnels I just showed you, right, where we were promoting a heartworm exam, we just didn't call it a heartworm exam. We called it, I think we called it the VIP heartworm package. So we packaged it up in a way, or the microchip program, right? We had some packaging on it that made it sound a bit unique, a bit different, a bit more meaty than just, hey, why don't you come in for a heartworm exam, or do you want to come in for a microchip? Think about how you could package the product in some way that makes it a little newer, a little different, or a little bit better, and makes it a little uniquer than something else. Just think about that when you're promoting a product or service. Then what you want to think about is, okay, what's the special deal that I want to associate with this offer? Now, a lot of people think that special deal just means discount. It doesn't mean that. I mean, it can be a discount, but a special deal is really, what is the value? In other words, what am I asking in exchange for this, and what value am I presenting here? And is there a big gap? In other words, am I giving way more value versus what I'm asking for here? The more value that you can give, or perceived value that you can give for whatever you're asking for in exchange, whether it's money or your email address or their time or whatever, the better you can do with that, the better this is going to look as irresistible. So look at, if you have a package, what is the deal on that, and how does that look as it relates to the value of what's included in that package as the special deal. Don't just, rotely go and say, oh, I'm going to cut this off and, sell it for 10% of what it's worth. That's not really a special deal because you're not highlighting the value. You should always add, if you can, a bonus or special incentive for them taking that irresistible offer. So on the microchip one, for example, if you would have watched the video, which we didn't do, but if the video that was on there, if they came in and got a microchip, they got a free entry into a lost pet database. And so that if their pet ever became lost, there's this national database, and if it got found by somebody, they could go into that database and put in the number of the microchip, and then it would tie the person back to there. And normally there's a paid subscription for that. They gave that to the person for the microchip for a year. So if they came in and got a microchip, there's a special bonus, a special incentive. They got access to this database. They had 4 or 5 other things that were special bonuses, incentives that even made that offer even better than what they were doing with the deal. And then you ideally want to have some form of sense of urgency. So at the offer, either people believe that there is a time limit to when they would be able to get this offer, or there's a limited number of them, right? There's either a limited number of them or a limited time to get that. So when you think about something that you want to promote in your funnel, right? A product, a service, it doesn't matter what it is, right? You may say you want to sell, maybe you're in the dog walking business, okay? And you want to sell and get more people that you're walking their dog, or dog care business, okay? You can come up with an irresistible offer. You can come up with a package, right? You can call it the VIP dog care program. And what's included in that is this, and it's a special deal of this per month. And as a bonus or special incentive, I've worked out a deal with a local vet, and you're going to get a free leash and whatever. But you know what? This is only available for the next 30 days, or I can only handle 10 dogs with this offer, right? That becomes an irresistible offer that you can put into your funnel and build around and build the conversions around. And again, it could be, it doesn't even have to be something they pay for. An irresistible offer could be something that they're opting in with their email for, or that they're spending time consuming content. It's still something that you're offering people to convert and to put into play. So those are what we mean by the irresistible offer. Okay, last but not least, and I told you this was going to be meaty tonight, so I gave you fair warning, but I really hope that this is opening your eyes on some of the things that maybe you could be doing and take advantage of right away, so that you're getting more of your product sold for more money and for more often. That's really my whole goal here. So funnel stacking, let me do this. So let's say that I have a funnel. Excuse my drawing. Oh boy, that's terrible. Anyway, that's a funnel. It's supposed to go across like that. Okay. And at the end of that funnel, let's say that my conversion goal is I want to get somebody to give me their email address and opt in and attend this webinar. Okay, or attend a webinar, or attend a video, or whatever. So I could have an entire funnel. In fact, I did have a funnel that the whole goal was to get people to sign up for this webinar. That was the conversion. That was the only conversion that's there. But now let's say that I want to get people to buy, I don't know, let's say I come out with a $20 training program. And it's a training program on how to build a Facebook page, for example. And it's going to cost, the conversion on that is I want somebody to spend $20. And what I'm going to do is I want to take the people, and don't worry, I'm not doing this, but I want to take the people that came through this first funnel, and now I'm going to put them into the second funnel, because now they've already opted in, they've maybe consumed some content, they've done a number of conversions. Now there's going to be doing things that are there at that point. Now let's say that, okay, now I'm going to offer a large training package or something. God, sorry about this drawing, it's horrible. My mouse is just doing weird things on the thing here. So let's say it's even a much higher dollar. I thought this was going to be so cool. It's turning out to be so ugly. Okay, now I could take the people here, right, that purchased a small thing and introduce a larger package to at that point. This would be an example of funnel stacking. Funnel stacking can be very, very, very effective, especially if you're doing a larger ticket sale or you're really trying to do higher items that are there. This first thing may be a very minor conversion. This could be another smaller conversion, and this can become higher ticket sales. I've worked with people who have used funnel stacking that have gone from selling, let's say, a $99 product here to a $20,000 product here, because they've done exactly what we just described, is they've worked people through the gradient to get and to build the relationship. They've done the nurturing. They've done all of those things to get them to that point that's right there. So if you have a higher dollar product or a higher dollar service that you ultimately want people to buy, think about using funnel stacking and the relationship between the conversions to get them to happen and put them into place there. Okay, so just to recap one more time, right? The keys to conversion: use the right gradient like we talked about. Make sure you do the right nurture zone. I know we haven't talked a lot about nurture zones, but we're going to in future webinars. Build your funnel and your conversion around irresistible offers, and then work out a funnel stack with different conversions at the appropriate gradient. If you can start to work with this and start to think with these things right here, I guarantee you your life will change. Your business life will change. You will sell more of your product for more often and for more money. I guarantee it. And if you don't do these things, you're going to continue to be frustrated. You're going to be, I don't like this. Why am I not getting the leads that I need? Why am I not getting the sales that I need? Why am I not selling enough of my books? Am I not selling enough of my art? Whatever the case may be, it's because you're violating and not doing some of these keys to conversion. And trust me, I've done them and done them all, and I've made all the same mistakes, and I've tried to shortcut stuff, and I don't want to do this or whatever, and it just ends up creating frustration. So these are really the key to conversion. Okay, what are we going to talk about next week? Is there any questions, though, before we do that? I'm trying to hit the questions as we've been going along here. Peter, he's asking about, how do you build out these funnels and the technology and stuff for doing that. I'll get into more of that. I'll get into more of the technology for building out these landing pages and all this kind of stuff. But before you even worry about the mechanics of, how the technology would work with this, just try and think about and map out what we talked about tonight. Pick a product or a service that you would like to sell more of, and then work out, okay, what audience are you going to try and sell that to? What's the degree of difficulty for getting that conversion to occur? What conversions may have to occur? What sort of conversions need to occur between them? Do you need to do the funnel stacking and so on? All of those things would be related to that and putting in that piece there. So Mary's asking, where does the landing page go? Is it a Facebook page? No, a landing page is generally not a Facebook page. It's going to be a page that either is built on your website or is a standalone website that you've created. It's something that I like. I don't like to put Facebook pages on or pages to go on Facebook. I like them to go outside of that. You can do a landing page on Facebook. It can be done, but they're generally not going to be a Facebook page. They're going to be a web page or a series of web pages that you have outside of wherever the traffic's coming from. Okay, let's see here. All right, so we're over time too. But so let's kind of quickly go into next week. So next week, we're going to talk about traffic. And traffic, if you remember, was all those things over on the left-hand side of the funnel here, right? So we're going to talk about traffic and more traffic. It's a question that comes up all the time. Where do I get it? How do I get it? How do I know it's good traffic versus bad traffic? We're also going to talk about, that not all traffic is created equal. In fact, there's two main categories of traffic. One's called intent-driven traffic. The other is called interest-driven traffic. And the way that you work with those is completely different. We're going to talk about that next week. We're going to talk about where to get the right traffic, depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. And then we're going to talk about, again, getting some more examples and keep looking at, this funnel. Because what we're really trying to do is dissect this funnel concept. So you know all elements of this funnel. You understand the traffic part. You understand the conversion part. You understand, the nurture part, all of these pieces and how they fit together. If you have that understanding, then even if you're not going to do this work yourself, which you're probably not, and you're going to go hire somebody to do it, or you're going to get someone else to do it, you know the right things to be telling them to do. You know the right things that need to be done. You know that you're not wasting money on things that aren't going to get more sales for more people and for more money. And that's what we really want to have come out of here. Okay, and there's one last thing, and I told you in the beginning I violated my own laws. And I've had a lot of people ask me, can I hire you, Tom? Can I hire you to help me do things? What do you do? All this kind of stuff. And I purposely had not been the purpose of these webinars. I was not trying to introduce my offer or any offer really at this point. But I've had a lot of people ask, and I can tell that I'm not giving good enough answers. And the answer to the question is that what I do falls into two categories. I coach people and companies on how to do the things that we're talking about here, where they have internal resources and they just want to be able to have somebody to keep them on the right track, keep them going in the right direction, make sure they're not making mistakes, they're focusing on the right things. I don't get in, I'm not in there necessarily with my sleeves rolled up and building landing pages, but I'm helping them and helping them do the right things and do all the right stuff there with their resources. I do that from individuals where I spend an hour a week with them to companies that I spend, in some cases several hours or many hours a month with. It just depends on what that is. That's kind of one thing that I do. The second thing that I do, and I do this less frequently, well, there's actually three things. So the second thing as I do is sometimes I will get involved in actual projects. So full-on projects where we're building funnels. I don't generally, it's not my preferred thing to do, but I certainly can and will get involved with helping people really just build out their funnel and work with them in doing that and being more hands-on, or have my team get involved in doing that. And then the third is kind of more training and group coaching. So there's one-on-one coaching and then there's group coaching. And it's an area that I haven't done a lot of in the past, and it's an area I'd like to do more of, because I think, even what we're doing here is kind of a form of group coaching. But if we did it even in smaller groups where, you were taking specific examples and we were working with each other as a group, looking at things for doing group coaching. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do a group coaching program. I will decide before we get through this webinar series that's here. I will provide more information as we go along if people are interested in doing stuff with me. I'm not going to violate my own law and not give you the opportunity to convert. But really, the first thing that I want to do with everybody is have that free coaching call. That free coaching call is not a sales thing in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to sell. I'm really trying to listen. The ones I've done have been great. It's very helpful for me to know what you're looking at. It's very helpful for me to know what your goals and what you're trying to accomplish is. And then I can really tell you, is there something that you should be doing, whether it's with me or with somebody else or some other thing. So please take advantage of that coaching call. Again, here's the place that you go sign up for it, put it in there, just sign up for a time. Also in the new portal that will be released, there's a little button right there you can click and sign up for the coaching call. Just do it because I really want to talk to everybody and learn about what you're doing and like I said, even if I can point you in different directions, I'll do that. And I think for the people that have had the coaching calls already, they can attest that that's what is occurring, and it's a very hopefully non-intimidating process on the whole thing. Okay, so let's see, is there any other questions here? If there's any other final questions for tonight, please go ahead and put them in. See if we can get those answered. Good. I don't see anything. Well, I really hope that this was eye-opening. This was useful. The replay will be ready probably tomorrow. I'll send everybody an email with the data on that. Please go watch it again. Show it to your friends and family. If you have people that you think still should be on this webinar series, it's not too late. Have them join. They'll get access to the member portal as well to watch the replays. So anyway, all of that's going to be available, and I'm hoping that this is helping move you in a direction of selling more and more of your product more often and for more money. All right, well, thanks again for everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday night, and have a great week. Take care.